Good morning, boys and girls, or I suppose it might not be good morning for you. I should probably pick a different greeting, but good morning anyway, because it is morning for me. This morning, before we start working on our next story, we're going to do a little bit of word work, and we're going to work with the sound Now, go ahead and tell me, what letter do you think of when you hear the sound It's a little harder when you can't see my mouth, but I'm hoping you said N. Now, before we get started, we know two spellings of the word in, and you see them both in these words in front of us. What's the most common way we're going to spell the sound Hoping, once again, that you said in. Before we dive into this, boys and girls, I don't want you to start overthinking. When you are spelling or when you are writing, if you hear the N sound, I want you to write what you think. You write in. Because most of the time when you hear that sound, that's the way it's going to be spelled. The big reason I want you to know that KN also can spell the N sound is because you're going to encounter it when you read. You're not going to see it every day. You're not going to see it in every story, but you will see it some. And it's important as almost second graders that you know what to do with it when you see it. So we're going to take a few minutes and we're going to do some word work. We're going to do some sound circling. Parents, if you are watching, sound circling is an incredible strategy. It's wonderful. I highly recommend that if you are not familiar with it, you watch closely because it's a great way to have your students work through tough words when they're reading. All right, so let's look together. We're going to look at this word first. Now, I can tell you right now, the first thing my eye goes to is I know that we're going to circle CK together. Because I know CK is going to make one sound. Remember, when we sound circle, we're not circling letters. We're circling sounds. Let's look. I'm pretty sure N's going to work by itself. And I's going to work by itself. E probably is, and L probably is. So I have ick, nickel. I have the word nickel. Now in this word, boys and girls, how did we spell the N sound? Hoping you said N, because that's totally right. Let's go to the next one. What's the first thing your eye goes to when you look at this word? First thing my eye goes to is I have a K-N at the beginning. We're going to circle them together because remember, if you need to put an X on that K, you're welcome to. That K does not make any sound. You can pretend he's not there. And then I'm pretty sure O's going to work alone and T's going to work alone. So we have not. The K in this word changes this from not, like I'm not going to do it, to not, like something you tie in a rope. So that's not. Let's go to our next word. First thing my eye notices, because it's trained to notice it a little better, is I see that I have a sneaky E, or at least what I think is going to be a sneaky E. Remember, boys and girls, if you ever circle something and then you go to sound out the word and it doesn't make sense, it's perfectly okay to go back and erase. You might have circled something wrong. We do that sometimes. And sometimes words don't follow the rule. The second thing my eye sees is I have KN. And they're going to work together. K doesn't make any sound here. And then I'm pretty sure F's going to work alone. So we have knife. As we read more KN words, you're going to notice, where is KN in both of these words? It's at the beginning. KN is only going to appear at the beginning, and it's not always there. We've read for 27, 30-ish weeks. And this is the first time we're having to see KN. You're not going to see it all the time, but you do need to know how to handle it when you do see it. Let's go to our next word. First thing my eye sees is I'm pretty sure I have a sneaky E, so I'm going to circle those together. I have a plain N and a plain T. So we have note. Ooh, this one's a little trickier. I see double twin letters. And I see ER. I think D's going to be alone, and I think I's going to be alone. Dinner. In this word, how did we spell the N sound? This time we needed 2 N's because we added an ER to the end of this word and we needed to protect our short vowel. Last one for right now, let's look at this word. First thing my eye sees is I have twin E's, and then I see I have KN. There's 4 letters here, but I'm pretty sure there's only going to be 2 sounds. N, E, knee. Awesome job, boys and girls. So we saw 3 ways to spell the N sound today. We saw N, KN, and NN. They all make the same sound, but there are different situations to use each one. So we're going to do lots of word work today. We're going to look at a couple words now that you're going to see in our story. All of these words are 2-syllable words. I know that because when I mark my vowel sounds, this one's got a sneaky E, but that's still one sound. When I mark my vowel sounds, I have 2 of them in each word. Remember, each syllable has to have a vowel sound. So let's start with this first one. Remember, when we have 2 consonants, we normally divide in the middle. So trumpet, trumpet, trumpet. It's an instrument. Our story today is going to have several instruments in it, and some of them may be instruments that you're not familiar with. A trumpet is like a kind of horn. So let's look. Same setup here. I have 2 consonants, so I usually divide in the middle. So we have trombone, trombone, trombone. A trombone is another type of horn. It's going to be in the same instrument family as our trumpet. We've read this word, but we're going to break it apart anyway. We have 2 consonants. We're going to divide down the middle. Mister. Before it was Mr. Who? Before it was Mr. Spencer. But I think we're going to meet a new Mr. in this story. All right, last word for right now. We're going to look at this. Remember, if our words in between our 2 vowels work together, you don't want to divide them. So we're going to divide after them. So this one's a little different. So we have racket. All right. Now, before we can get started, we have a list of a few words that I want you to just listen to me talk about for just a second, because some of them are words that we don't hear very often. When we have a story about something like what today's story is called The Band, you have words that you only really hear when we're talking about music. And if we're not really into music or performing music, they may be words that we're not very familiar with. So we talked about a trumpet and a trombone. Let's talk about the word racket. I'm going to bring it back on so you can see it. When I hear the word racket, I think of tennis. Let me show you what I'm talking about. In tennis, you have a tennis racket, right? And you hit the ball with it. It's a really bad drawing. Please forgive me. Do you think this is the kind of racket we're going to have in today's story? It's not, because our story isn't about tennis. It's about a band. Racket here is going to mean a loud, unpleasant noise. You may have heard your mom, dad, grandma tell you before, stop making all that racket. Racket is kind of a negative word to talk about sound. It's normally not a nice sound. There are also going to be some phrases in today's story that you're going to hear. Like, someone's going to say that something sounds like a sick moose. Do you think if something sounds like a sick moose, it's going to be a good sound or a bad sound? Probably a bad sound. I know that when I'm really sick, I don't make good sounds. I don't sing like a bird. So when someone says something sounds like a sick moose, it's probably not going to be a very good noise. It's going to be like a moaning sound. You're also going to hear the term belting out. If I belt something out, I'm singing or playing a song really loudly with spirit. And then the last expression you're going to hear is someone's going to knock it out of the park. Knocking something out of the park means you're doing a great job. Think of baseball. If you are up to bat and you hit a ball out of the park, it means you did phenomenally. You did so good. So if you knock something out of the park, you did a really great job. So I want you, after I finish your instructions, to pause this video. I'm not going to read our story with you today, boys and girls. I want you to read it. So you're going to open your grace book, and I want you to read the band. Once you finish, how many times are you going to read your story? Right? You're going to read it 3 times. You're going to read your story 3 times, and if you need to, take a break, and then come back and see me, and we're going to go over the questions together. The questions today are really starting to get a little tougher. They're starting to ask you things more geared towards 2nd grade brains. So I want to make sure that you really understand what they're asking. So pause the video, read your story, take a break, eat a snack, go outside for a few minutes, whatever you need to do, and then come back and see me. I'll be here waiting. All right. So I'm trusting you, boys and girls, that you've read your story. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to get out your questions, and you're going to need something to write with, and you're still going to need your book. So don't put that away. First thing we do is we write our name. Here's mine. Now, we didn't read our questions today before we finished our story, so you may have to do a little more rereading to find your answers. I'm not going to answer them with you today, but I am going to go over the questions and what they're asking with you. So let's look at number 1. It says, what did Grace and Jill sound like at the start? Biggest mistake you're going to make, boys and girls, is there are really important words right here. What did Grace and Jill sound like at the start? I want to know what they sounded like at the beginning. So make sure you're looking for your answer at the beginning. Also, don't forget your page number. So if I was going to reword this, I would say, at the start, Grace and Jill sound like, and tell me what they sounded like. At the start, Grace and Jill sound like what? Number 2, how did Mr. Spencer act when the children started out? Once again, boys and girls, you see these key words? When they started out, at the beginning, when they sounded like this, how did Mr. Spencer act? Mr. Spencer acts, tell me how he acts, and tell me what his page number is. Make sure you're paying attention to these big key words. Let's go to number 3. Who is Mr. Vance? This one's pretty easy. Mr. Vance is, tell me who he is, and give me your page number. Now, this is the one I really want to talk to you about. This big word right here tends to mess us up. They want you to describe the band concert. We've done describe before, but sometimes that word still catches us off guard. Describe is use your senses. Tell me what the band concert was like. What did it sound like? What did it look like? Where was it? What the way you describe, the words you choose from the story, may not be exactly like what someone else chooses because they used a lot of words in the story to describe the band concert. This does need to be straight from your story, though. Don't make it up. The concert sounded lovely. It sounded like a lot of fun. That's not what I'm looking for. The band concert sounded what? The band concert was at, tell me what you know about the band concert. Facts, not opinions. We've talked about that. Facts are things that are true for everybody. Opinions are things that are true for you. It's how you feel. Don't forget your page number. Okay? Make sure you upload a picture of this, boys and girls, because I especially want to see your number 4. Describe is going to be a big part of your questions in the next couple weeks. We're really going to work on that describing. Get those adjectives in. What did it sound like, feel like, smell like, look like? Things like that. So make sure you work hard on this question. The band concert was, and tell me about it. I love you, boys and girls. I love how much effort you're putting into this, and I could not be more proud of you. I miss you so much, and I really hope I get to see you soon.